What's up, everyone? Hello, everyone. My name is Darnice Carter. I'm the founder of the organization Black Woman About Business. This is your Build Her, Be Her podcast. I'm your host and your host that matter the most. And I am here with the lovely and amazing Miss Melva LaJoy Legrand. And listen, everyone, this podcast, I'm telling y'all, I could not sleep last night. I was so excited. I didn't share this with anyone. And of course, I'm going to promote this because it won't be posted right away because we'll have to do the edits, of course. But I couldn't sleep because I was just so excited because of you and your amazing journey. And I'm not going to tell you a story. I'm going to let you share it. But I just want everyone to know that she has graced us with her presence, and y'all are in for a treat. So, to all my lovely listeners out there, go ahead and grab your tea, grab your chai, your latte, whatever it is that you need. But you probably should also grab a pen and paper to jot down some gems that I know she's going to bless us with on today. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. But before I do that, I have wrote down some things that I thought would be so appropriate to share. I could probably talk to you all day, but I know we only have a little bit of time here. But I just want to share her overview. Melva LaJoy Legrand. First of all, I just love saying your name. There's power. We say there's power in the name of Jesus, but there's power in your name, sis. It really is. She's the CEO and founder of the award-winning LaJoy Creative, a 2025 incorporated female founder, 500 and smart meetings, best of stage winner. Come on, y'all. We have to clap it up. We're going to with over 20 years of experience in education and event production, she has helped individuals and organizations elevate missions rooted in social justice, educational access, and diversity. Her portfolio includes collaborations with Michelle Williams, Destiny's Child, oh my goodness, Sherry Shepherd, Sierra, and Common. Come on, y'all. And her insights have been featured in Forbes and Black Enterprise. Honey, you are amazing. And that is just like a little snippet of what I've captured of you. And I'm just very grateful that you decided to really join us here on the Build Her, Be Her Black Woman About Business podcast because you done put in the work. You put in the work. So would you do the honors of really just sharing you and who you are? And I want to say introducing yourself, but just make yourself so comfortable and just let's just talk.
Here for it. And hi, everyone that's watching this. I'm grateful to have this time, to have this space and opportunity. I think it's a responsibility and an honor if you've created something to share it, to share the learnings, to share the blessings. But I am Melva LaJoy Legrand. Could say more about what I do, but you did an amazing job. I'm going to tell you about whose I am. I am a daughter who was forged by a love of 58 years through my late father, Melvin, whose namesake I have the honor of carrying, and my mother, Joyce. I am a proud wife of Emmanuel Legrand, which has gifted me the blessing of living in two countries. I live in DC and Paris. I strive to be a servant. I am the proud shepherd of LaJoy Creative. And in addition to the awards you just mentioned, I actually last week in Chicago received a CEO award as a CEO creating impact. And I would like to say I am a survivor of many things who can't quit, won't quit, will never give up on me because I know who I am and I know I am.
I love it. I love it. All of what you said, I resonate with wholeheartedly. And the most important thing, and being an entrepreneur, I love to share and I love to teach, but I love to do it in fun and amazing ways. So this morning, one of the videos that I have yet to get out, I was just sharing how the importance of recognizing who you are. So that's so fitting because if we don't know who we are, whose we are, that sets the tone for how we walk, how we show up, how we speak. If we don't know that, then we're lost. And you said, you're the survivor of many things. I can attest. I can say, yes, indeed. Yes. And I read, and your assistant sent over some information on you, but what stood out the most, so many things stood out to me, but what stood out too was that, yes, you were named a 2025 Entrepreneurial Woman of Impact and honored. This was you being honored in Chicago. Am I right? Well, I have to say, that had to be, how did that make you feel? How did you
You
feel
know,
receiving that?
the evidence that this season in my life is a result of my ancestors' prayers, my parents' prayers. It is the result of planting seeds for 2 decades and just now seeing the harvest in a way that is external. And
Mm,
so what happened was, and this is true, I had a speech prepared. I was ready to say all of the things. And at the end of the day, when I got up to the stage to say my proclamation, I just became overwhelmed with emotion because it is so humbling to be seen for your work because I never did this work to be seen. I did this work to be of service to others. That's all it was about. And so now to see it reflected back to me, it is beyond what my words can express. But it didn't start out for the external affirmation. It started out for me what I would call as kingdom work. Does that make sense?
absolutely. Yes, it does. Absolutely. And I think when our vision and our mindset is of that, doing God's work, building up his kingdom, we receive blessings beyond measure. His word tells us that. He will, yes, his word tells us that. Not only will he open up doors, but he will bless you. The eyes have not seen. So I really want to give you your flowers and say thank you because your heart was pure in setting out on this mission. Thank you.
It's
And so
true. It's
often,
true. And thank you. Thank you for standing in the gap and being someone who lifts up the name God and his teachings. Because to your point, and I don't want to get too deep into my ministry, but for me, I just don't know another way. Just don't know a way to be successful in the absence of grace, in the absence of forgiveness, in the absence of humility. I could go on and on and on, but there's one of my favorite songs when I'm in my seasons of doubt is by Dorinda Clark Cole, and it's her album where she's wearing this beautiful red, and her song is I'm Still Here. And the
you are
reality is I am still
I'm still
here
holding on.
because the chorus goes, because of the grace of God.
Can I tell you that that's my favorite song? And I cry
Okay.
every time I hear it
Is it
because it's a
really?
ministry. I lie to you not. I'm still holding on. I can't sing, but I will say that is
Sing
my
either,
song.
so I'm gonna let you take it.
I'm still holding on. That is my song, and that's what gets me through. But what you said was, you know no other way. I don't apologize for not knowing no other way. That is in me, and I walk it in its totality. I am so driven by it, and I coach women from a biblically based standpoint. If that's not what they're looking for, then I'm sorry I cannot help you because somehow, some way, it ties in. If I've spoken to non-believers, but it ties in. There's no way of getting around it. You know, I was going to ask you, and this was probably going to be towards the end, a quote or a mantra that keeps you inspired. But that song now, often I'd say, what is a song that you think of that will get you through those tough times? But you already said that. So when you mentioned that, that was something, one of my quotes and mantras I can think of as a quote would be stand for something or else you'll fall for anything. The scripture that I would reflect on is Psalm 121, look unto the hills from which cometh my help comes from the Lord. So when I speak to people and I ask them, what quote or mantra or song that helps you get through? You've already answered that, but I'm sure you have a quote. I'm sure you have a quote.
And I'm gonna give it to Melvin. I have a lot of Melvin-isms, but my favorite that I often share is this: "Your word is the only form of currency that matters. Your word is the only form of currency that matters. And for me, that is foundational to my business. And honoring my word could mean what we said in the contract. What we
Mhm.
communicated was our value proposition. But the other piece of that, part of honoring our word and honoring ourselves, is boundaries. Sometimes
Yeah.
in business, yes, sometimes in business, we all fall subject to scope of work creep. And we all often want to be accommodating because we believe that it's important to do everything in order to keep the business. But when you do everything outside of what you committed to do, that is not honoring your word. And it's actually not honoring yourself. And it's also not honoring the client because you've set up a relationship based on falsehoods. So your word
Mm.
is the only form of currency that matters. And that's on Melvin, my daddy.
You know what? Well, thank you, Mr. Melvin. Thank you. And I can't recall what episode it was, but I spoke on your word being your currency and how we either deposit, we withdraw. And I speak on that, our words, our actions, even our thoughts. So, I appreciate that. I appreciate him sharing that with you, teaching that to you, and you delivering it to us. I am right now in the midst of maybe 2 weeks shy of hosting a Black Woman About Business Expo. When I think of you being a 10-time award-winning CEO, executive producer, yes, baby, we are clapping it up for you, event expert, public speaker, and all of these things, but you're also what stood out to me too was a chief storyteller. When I think of the grand scheme of things that you're doing and teaching women, I think of you as this trailblazer. And I said, well, I'm looking at this event that I'm hosting, the Black Women About Business Expo, which is allowing women of color to come together and showcase their talents or provide a service. And it's encouraging entrepreneurship. But one of the things and we're having a panel discussion, but one of the things that I want to convey to these women that are in this and will be here to that day is that when we find someone that is doing the things, as they say, but I'm talking amazing things, paving the way for us. You're one of them. Let's not look at, I want to teach women to not look at like, oh my God, I can't do all of this. She done all of these things. Women often get scared and afraid. And I often try to encourage them. This is where the confidence building come in at, the clarity and finding out your purpose and all. Can you speak to women and share with them one of the things that, or some of the things that you did, because I'm sure you looked at someone on this journey and said, wow, either I want to be like her or there are things that she's doing that I would like to do. So what would you say to women that are looking at all of these amazing things that you're doing, yet they're capable as well? But sometimes looking at all of these things, you'll be like, oh my God, I don't know if I could do that.
That's what I think. I think because of social media, you're only getting one part of the story. And so I think two things. I think one, it's the responsibility of women who have achieved a certain level of success to talk about the moments where they made mistakes, where they didn't think they could find a way. Because here's the thing, I am a very, very flawed human. Again, I said I live by grace, right? So there are moments where I didn't price myself appropriately. Oh, wait, just last week I talked about when I got an eviction notice. Oh, wait, what about the time that I was navigating a business but in an abusive relationship? And so I want to encourage my fellow leaders to humanize their experience and not create
Yes.
this false idol, because we have all fallen. And by the way, I will fall again. Guarantee you, it is just the nature. Said, for someone who's looking at somewhat aspirational way, I need you to know, like, hear my voice. You are capable. And if you are in the room with someone you aspire or like, be, I need you to approach that person with a specific ask. And I'm going to give an example. The ask could be, do you have 15 minutes? The ask could be a specific question. There is a girl right now, a lady, excuse me, who has written me more than once on Instagram. I intend to get back to her, but sometimes I forget. And she finally made the ask. She said, look, I know you're busy. Tell me when you have time for lunch or a call, and I will figure it out on my end. I had to respect that. Guess what? I'm
Yeah.
going to take that lunch. I'm going to take that call because I know 20 years ago, there were people who took lunches and calls for me.
For you.
And
Yes.
I want to say this last note for my leaders because I realize that not every woman who is in leadership is in a position where they are healed. So I need you to
Mm.
get your healing and not be
Yeah.
blocking the next generation from where they could potentially go because of your unresolved insecurities. Get your healing.
Mm.
Get your healing. Because how do I know you need to get your healing? Well, one, I did that too. But more importantly, my mother always said to me, Melva LaJoy, do you look at the sun? Like, what do you think of the sun? And I said, what, mama? She said, the sun is so wide, it is so vast that all of us can shine. So, for my ladies who are operating in a posture
Wow.
of success, the greatest gift you can give is your time, is your expertise, because I assure you, we are going to be retired one day. And don't you want the world to have women who are equipped with things that maybe you never got?
That was amazing. Oh my God, I felt that. There is enough sunshine for us to shine. I felt that. Ladies, I really hope that this resonates with you. Hope that you take it in. Yes, because healing is something that we all must do because it's life we go through. And we like you said, there comes a time when we hit that roadblock. There comes a time when we're trying to climb out of that abusive relationship. We're trying to heal from sexual abuse. There's so many things, single motherhood, the trauma of so many different things that we face as women, and let alone business women, and so we have to heal. We have to acknowledge that we need that healing. We have to be open, receptive to receiving that healing because then when we say yes to that, we're able to pivot and move into different directions and become the leader that others can look up to us where we can also pave that way for others. Because like myself, the things that I'm doing is not for glorifying social media. It's being able to share my story as well as others. I recently wrote a book called Becoming a Devotional Diva. And diva, not in a traditional sense, but diva is dependable, empowered, victorious, and admirable. And one of my girlfriends read this book and she said, Dar, she said, she calls me Nisi, my nickname. She said, I am so mad at you. And I'm like, why? She says, I couldn't talk to you for like 2 weeks. And I'm like, and I noticed that, but I was like, well, just thinking it was the busyness. I said, why? She said, because you didn't tell me you slept in your car. You didn't tell me. She said, you knew I had this house over here, this empty house over here, and you slept in your car. I said, but see, one thing is that was something I had to deal with myself and with God. You know, that was a point of me pivoting and asking God. I was in a place and I knew I had places to go, but that was a time in my life where I failed. There was a time in my life where I knew that the only one that could get me up out of this was God. So I had to not look at everyone around me. I had to look into the hills from which cometh my help. My help came from the Lord. We had this conversation, but saying all of that to say that we're going to face trials, we're going to fail. Just like Melva said, we're going to, you know, but it's building community when we find our strength. It is in those communities because isolation can kind of tear us down even more. Isolation can trick us into believing that we are not worthy and that no one cares. But that's not the case, ladies. So I just want to encourage y'all here on this journey as an entrepreneur to keep going and look. for strong women. I don't even want to say strong women, but look into women such as Melva, who went through. And she didn't just face these obstacles, these challenges. She didn't label herself as a victim. She went through them, became a survivor, and you can only say you're a survivor once you go through it. She healed herself, so I'm so grateful. I'm grateful. You spoke about leadership. I often love to talk about leadership and legacy together because as we're leaving a legacy. People think, well, if I don't have any children or if I don't have a business, there's no legacy. Yes, there is. You often speak about leading with
Okay.
heart. I can say personally, oh God, leading with heart. That's where our purpose come in at. So as a
Mhm.
CEO of your company, how does it like for you?
I think it has evolved. So there are tactical things I could talk about, extended breaks, mental health days, but what's most important to me is that everyone who is on my team, that they understand that my priority is to cultivate them as humans first versus tangible, results driven assets. And so that looks like from the onset. So, this is for my fellow leaders. How are you interviewing people? Because the resume only tells you one side of the story. But I think it is critical to understand people's why, because once you understand someone's why, you can see if you're a values fit. And if you're a values fit, which to me is critical, I can teach you all of the skills. But if you're not a values fit, if you don't have the spirit of humility, if you don't believe, you don't have to believe what I believe from a faith orientation, but if you don't understand the importance of the not engaging in the comparison trap, if you don't understand team dynamics, if you're not comfortable being a beginner, right?
Mm,
That is very
mm.
hard for me to work with. So I am trying to build a team that is human first, that we use grace as part of our currency, and the skill building, we can work that out. But what is your character? Why are you here? What are you
Mhm.
expecting from me? Are we aligned? And sometimes, and this is okay, sometimes we're not aligned. And the
Right.
other thing is,
It is.
sometimes I get it wrong and I have to be mature enough to say, I messed that up. But
Mm,
for me, leading with heart is a combination of understanding and operating in good character to the extent you can, which means you own your mistakes, you own your word. It also means that you advocate and celebrate your team. It also means that you hold them accountable. And I would also add that it also means that you don't hold them back for your own fears. My greatest dream, you said you talked about legacy, and I speak to this with my team. I hope they are better than I am. Hope they do things that blow my mind. I want that for them. Because when
yes.
I leave this realm, no one is going to remember what I was CEO of. You can't bury money. I am grateful for the awards, don't get me wrong. But what I believe people will remember is how I made them feel, and in turn, how those people I've trained and developed, how they made people feel. And that's
Mm,
my legacy.
that's
And if you
legacy.
don't do
Yeah.
that with heart, if you don't do that with heart, if you do it with fear, if you do it with unresolved trauma, all you're creating is hurt people who will hurt people. I'm in the business of being heart forward because healed people will help people. And when I am
Yes.
gone, that's the world that I want to leave behind. Does that make sense?
I want to say amen to that. Yes, it does. It absolutely does. One of the questions I had posed here was, how did you rebuild after losing everything during the pandemic? But before you answer that, I just want to touch base on the things that you mentioned as far as leadership and being okay being a beginner. That is part of the issues with some people. It is okay to say, "I don't know." It is okay to sit to be a student. We should always be learning anyway, right? But I would say, like you said, being a beginner doesn't make it a worse thing. It's not a bad thing. You're positioning yourself to learn. Yes. Yes, but being a beginner, it is okay. So now I'll have to use your words, Melva, and say it is okay to be a beginner. And I think that kind of helps ease the concern of people because people, like you said, they look at social media and they're comparing themselves to someone who may have been doing this or on this journey for 10 years and you're just getting started. And they allow that to cripple them. They allow that to have the fear of not putting forth the effort. So it is okay. They used to have the saying of it is okay to not be okay, but I wanna say it's okay to be a beginner. It is really okay. Really positions yourself for growth. And I just recently started watching this show, and I don't watch TV like that, but there was a show on, and it was called Gen Chef. I'm not sure if that's the exact name. I believe it's on Netflix, but I was watching the purpose of me watching this was because they were teaching chefs. They were at the CIA university and teaching chefs. And as they were teaching them, these are people who come in and they know how to cook, they know how to bake. But the most important thing that I got out of that and what they were teaching them was how to be a leader. How do you pick the people that are on your team? You don't just pick someone because I like them, or I don't just pick someone because, oh, I saw them do it this way. You have to pick, you have to be a leader. And when those students or people that are under you, your clients or your employees, your staff, when they make that mistake, it really is you having to own that as well. So I was just reminded of that when you were speaking. Can we just talk briefly about you rebuilding LaJoy Creative after almost losing everything around that pandemic time? What was that like?
So guess what? I became a beginner again. So here's the thing, to your point, being a student is a lifelong endeavor, and I want to punch in that being a beginner means that you're a student. And if you're a student, that means you're curious. And curiosity is one of the secret skills that I think every successful business needs. So stay curious. To answer your question about
Yes.
rebuilding, not after I almost lost everything, I did lose it 99%. I don't know why
Mhm.
people lie and make that up. And I also want to say I went through a little bit of a depression. And then there was a moment, and I can't recall when exactly, where I started getting dressed every day for work, but there was no calls coming in. And my husband would say, "What are you getting dressed for?" Because there were no calls. And I said, "For my opportunity." I just started to believe my opportunity was on its way. And so I did become a student. I got my certification in digital events, hybrid events during that time. I dove into a skill set that is now something vibrant that we're doing, which is ghostwriting. I've always been an exquisite writer. And then for a larger firm, a much, much larger firm, became a co collaborator on a project that at the time was significant for me and my business. And that project, like being a co lead, not being the one in charge, being a co lead is what set me up for additional contracts. Like it just started after that. But none of that would have happened, leave, if I didn't position myself for
Position
an
yourself. That's what I
opportunity
was saying.
that did not.
Yes. That's
Yeah, I
that's what I was saying
positioned
the whole
myself.
time.
And
I
when
said
I
you were
say I
positioning yourself. Yes.
position myself, and here's the thing, to this day, like I am fully dressed. Like a lot of people said, "Oh, you just got dressed from the waist up." No, 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 no. I had on shoes. I was ready to hit the floor if I had to. I am ready because here's the thing, in business, you know what the greatest opportunity is in business? It's the next one. Because the next one means I'm still in business. A lot of people are
Wow.
talking about what they did 5 years ago, 5 months ago. I want to be talking about what I'm doing in the future because it means my business has a future. So, for my entrepreneurs, my question to you is, have you put yourself in position? Or are you waiting for it to come to you? Are you prepared? Are you learning? Are you dressed? Are you ready? Because when the call comes, and it came for me, what you don't want to say is, oh, can you give me an hour? Because right now may be all you get.
That's right. Yep. And as the old saying says, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Yes, yes, yes. You were positioning yourself. And I love that idea because you said that you were about to fall into this depression and that will creep up on us. But I think sometimes people say, oh, well, during that pandemic time, it was a lot of people took advantage of the opportunities to build businesses. A lot of people were like, okay, they were scrambling, not knowing what to do, the uncertainty of everything. But for those who they didn't have the clients, they couldn't go into work. They just kind of became lackadaisy. But what you did was you positioned yourself. You got ready. You stayed ready. You dressed yourself in spite of what it looked like. Because one thing's for certain and two things for sure, the opportunity will come, but will you be ready? Will you be ready?
And here's the thing,
Yes.
I'm from DC. So I want to, and it's not just DC, but I want to speak to the people who are currently experiencing a government shutdown. I don't know what that's like. That is not my reality. But don't let the shutdown shut you down. Do not let this
Yes.
shutdown shut you down. You may have a dream that has been burning in your heart, but your 9 to 5 was a distraction, a necessary distraction because bills are real, cost is real.
Yes.
But don't let this shutdown shut you down. Maybe there's a
That means it doesn't
conversation
stop.
with a loved one or a family member that you haven't had because you didn't have the time. Now you have the time. So, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's a recession, whether it's a shutdown, I consider those seasons as your preparation season. So, prepare because something's after this. Prepare.
Yes, yes, something is after this. And we are going to encourage each and every one of you, whether you're on this government shutdown, think about where you are. Where do you want to go? Sometimes life hands us these lemons. And we know the old saying is we make lemonade out of lemons, right? We make lemonade. What is it that we can do next? We can't just live for the moment. It is the Build Her, Be Her podcast, but it's really building you up for that next level, positioning you for what's next. And for those of you out there, it may be time for you to pivot. Just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Oh my God, Melva, I am just really enjoying this conversation. I'm just so grateful and thankful for you to take the time out of your schedule to pour into us. This has been amazing. And I'm sure it's going to bless so many people. Do you want to leave us with any words of encouragement? Or if I could just ask you this for the 2025 year, what is one word? What is one word that defines this 2025 season for you? And for
Said
those of you who are listening and tuned in, I'm sorry, Melva. For those of you who are tuned in and for you that are listening, think about what is one word that you can define your 2025 year season?
say, and it's a longer story, but last year was one of my hardest years professionally. And it was hard because there was a significant contract that was lost earlier in the year. And so I took a pay cut to be able to pay the rest of my team, and a variety of other things happened. This year, and I kept my head down, did the work, and by the time this year rolled around, I woke up and the numbers are such that I grew by 30+%. So this year, my word is unstoppable. And what
Ah,
my word for this community is this: what I know to be true and I kind of shared it through the conversation. I have survived financial trauma. I have survived abuse in a variety of ways. I survived the recession. I survived the pandemic. I don't say that to boost myself up. This is just real. For those of you listening who will survive your divorce, who will, like me, survive infertility, whatever it is you are going through, I want you to know that you can build something beautiful from your brokenness. And when you
Yes.
do, and you will tell me, maybe you won't tell me, but you'll say to yourself that this year I am unstoppable. And what unstoppable means for me, not that there won't be detours, but I am so complete in who I am, whose I am, and I have peace in the process, and I have patience through the pain. So I don't know who this is for, but it's just on my heart to tell you to build from your brokenness. We need
Mm.
your unique thing, something that you are meant to do. We need to see it come to life. I don't know the reason, but I need you to build it. And when you feel like you can't hold on, I'm going to give you something that my pastor, Dexter Nuthall, told me. I'm going to give it to you two ways. He said, push, pray until something
Yes.
happens, push. And for those of you where that's not in your framework, I'm going to give you another one. Persist until something happens. But my word, my reality is I'm unstoppable.
Oh my goodness. That is amazing. You've poured into me, to us. I'm grateful. Thank you for that. Unstoppable. And if I could say my word for this year for myself is probably visionary because God has really been showing me some things and he's been really connecting the dots. If I didn't see it before this year, I'm actually seeing it now as I am building out this Black Women About Business Expo. Sure wish you were here in the Philadelphia area so you could attend, but it's going to be many more, and I pray that we stay connected. Yes, that's okay, but I feel you, and I'm going to
So,
share this with everyone. And I mean, yes, it's the podcast, but I mean, I'm going to be emailing it to every woman in my email list. But if I had to give you a word as well, it would be you're a trailblazer. You're setting and paving the way for us, and I'm so grateful, truly grateful. Melva, thank you so much for reminding us that success is not just, the fancy lights and all of the glory things, but that leadership is the most important. Leadership and legacy is about heart and healing, and was what I wrote here, and I know I heard you say it. It's about heart healing and legacy. You poured so much wisdom into us today. I'm just so ever grateful. So thank you so much. Thank you.
you're so
Ladies,
welcome. You're
please
so
remember.
welcome.
I'm so excited for this. I think we'll be getting on this editing very quick. So I just have a few words here. I just want to say, ladies, remember, it's your time to build her and be her, but keep rising, keep leading, and keep walking in purpose. And as Melva stated, build from your brokenness, ladies. This is the Build Her, Be Her Black Women About Business podcast, and we are so forever grateful. Melva, please tell people where they can find you, how they can reach you. What are your social handles, your website, and any other information you'd like to share?
So, I want to say first, thank you so much for seeing me, engaging me in a natural conversation, and truly wanting to be a servant for women. I see what you're doing. It is beautiful. I would be at your expo if I wasn't in Paris right now. I hope you
Can we switch
consider
places?
inviting me.
Can
Yep,
we
I
switch
live
places?
between DC. No, you were called to be in Philly. I am called to be in Paris. But I think it's tremendous what you're doing, and I know you're doing it from your heart. For those of you who want to get to know our work, please check out our website at lajoycreative.com. I also would lift up my YouTube channel for the business because there are 2 free master classes there that might help you in your journey of healing. And then I would say finally be in community with me on Instagram. There's 2. One is LaJoy Creative at LaJoy Creative. And the one to reach me, and I do respond. It's not somebody else. I respond. It's at BE LaJoyful. At Be LaJoyful. And again, thank you so much. God bless everybody. I'm so grateful.
Yes, thank you so much, Melva LaJoy. And I had to apologize because I was saying Legrand. It's Legrand. It's
Well,
pronounced
let's be
Legrand.
honest. It is. That's the French way, but I receive all of it. At least you said all of the correct syllables, so thank you for that.
You're welcome. We love you here on the Build Her, Be Her Black Woman About Business podcast. You stay blessed.
You
Take
too.
care. Bye
Bye.
bye.